Welcome to Scaling Legends, the podcast where growth-minded construction leaders unlock the systems and strategies behind building generational companies. This is Deep Dive, the segment where we uncover how real founders are scaling from 5 million to 50 million and beyond without losing control of quality, culture, or cash flow. Today's episode is brought to you by SmartBusinessAutomator.com, the operations engine behind modern construction firms that want to scale smarter, not harder. If you're dealing with project delays, chaotic scheduling, drop balls on follow-ups, or manual bottlenecks, Smart Business Automator helps you automate back-office workflows and change order follow-ups, streamline subcontractor coordination and client communication, track bids, leads, and financials in one clean dashboard. Free up your time to focus on building, hiring, and closing bigger deals. Because in construction, scale without systems is just stress. Now, let's deep dive.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Suppose there was a way, maybe, to achieve the kind of growth that makes your company a national leader faster than you thought possible. I mean, what would that actually mean for you?
Or what about those really persistent problems, like wrestling with incredibly complex regulations maybe, or just figuring out how to build in the most challenging urban spaces? What keeps you up at night dealing with those?
Yeah, let's just explore that. What if the obstacles you're facing right now weren't really obstacles at all? What if they were actually the key to unlocking your unique competitive advantage?
It's easy, isn't it, to look at these really successful companies, the ones with massive scale and impact, and just think, oh, they must have had it easier. But, often it's precisely the opposite.
That's exactly what jumped out at me when I was going through this material you shared. We've got sources here looking at the journeys of 4 pretty different companies: Webcor, McCarthy Building Companies, MasTec, and Moss Construction.
Right.
And each one faced these huge challenges, really specific to their markets or their history.
And that's our mission today, really, to try and pull out the core lessons from what they went through. How do they actually tackle these difficult problems? How do they innovate, build relationships, achieve that kind of growth?
And most importantly, what can we learn from their deep dives into their own challenges that might apply to your path forward?
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this. We should start with Webcor, founded back in '71, based in San Francisco. Reading this, the challenges they faced there just sounded, well, extreme.
Oh, they really do. San Francisco is, arguably one of the toughest places in the U.S. to build anything. Just think about it.
Yeah.
You've got the incredibly stringent seismic codes for earthquakes, right?
Right, baseline.
Then layer upon layer of environmental regulations, the whole intricate dance of neighborhood politics.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And the logistics constraints are just staggering. Trying to get materials, workers onto these super tight urban sites with almost no access, it's intense.
And yet, the material seems to suggest Webcor didn't just, survive this. They actually used it to become incredibly strong. How does a company even do that? Turn those kinds of restrictions into an edge?
Well, it really forced them to develop a level of specialized expertise that, frankly, very few others possess. If you're building successfully in San Francisco, you have to master urban logistics.
No choice.
No choice.
Yeah.
Squeezing massive projects into tiny footprints, coordinating deliveries almost down to the second. You have to push the boundaries of seismic engineering.
Yeah.
And you absolutely have to become an expert at community relations, navigating unbelievably complex approval processes. These aren't like optional skills there. They're essential for survival.
So the constraints actually forged their expertise. The
Yeah.
material mentions them pioneering specific techniques because of these SF problems, like innovative ways to build in really tight spaces.
Exactly.
New seismic retrofitting methods that came out of necessity, and these logistics plans designed to minimize disruption in really dense neighborhoods.
Precisely. They couldn't just do things the standard way. They literally had to invent new ways. And these innovations, honed over years of tackling San Francisco's unique difficulties, well, they became capabilities that made them the go-to expert for similar complex urban projects anywhere else.
They built a reputation for handling the impossible.
You got it.
And that community integration piece you mentioned, that seems massive too. Building those lasting relationships with the neighborhood groups, local agencies, all the stakeholders, navigating the politics, that's got to be critical just to get things approved and built, right?
It's totally non-negotiable in that kind of environment. Technical skill is one thing, sure, but earning that community trust and keeping their support, That's what lets projects actually move forward. Webcor clearly made that core part of their whole approach. It's highlighted again and again in the sources.
Okay, so the big takeaway from Webcor's story for you, the listener, is really interesting. It's this idea that the most difficult, unique environment or challenge you're facing, maybe it's regulatory, maybe site conditions, maybe market dynamics, could actually force you to innovate and build specialized skills others just don't have.
Right. It makes you the expert people turn to for those specific hard problems. Don't just wish away the tough stuff. Maybe see it as a path to a unique capability.
Okay, moving on. Let's look at McCarthy Building Companies. Now, this is a company with some serious history, founded way back in 1864. That's, what, 160 years?
Yeah, quite a legacy.
The material really emphasizes their strength lies in blending that cutting-edge innovation with, those time-tested building principles.
And what really stands out there is that kind of longevity. It's not an accident. It absolutely requires constant adaptation. McCarthy operates right at that intersection of, let's say, traditional, high-quality craftsmanship and really advanced technology, particularly in the kinds of demanding projects the sources talk about.
All right, projects like data centers, is that it? Research facilities, advanced manufacturing plants.
Exactly.
These aren't your standard buildings. They need incredible precision, maybe clean room environments, complex systems integrations, places where that fundamental construction quality has to meet the absolute forefront of technology.
That's it, exactly. They have to be masters of the basics.
Yeah.
Structural integrity, site management, all that, while also pioneering the techniques needed for these incredibly sensitive and technologically advanced structures. It's a balance they've clearly forged over decades.
And the sources really highlight their leadership in sustainable construction, too. Especially important in markets like California, I imagine. Pioneering green building, getting certifications like LEED. It sounds like this is more than just, a trend for them.
Oh, yeah. It's deeply integrated into their whole value proposition. Their expertise in sustainable construction isn't just about meeting environmental standards, although that's part of it. It's really about delivering buildings that perform better. More energy efficient, healthier environments for the people inside. It adds tangible, long-term value for the client that goes way beyond just the initial build.
Right, so it's performance, not just checking a box. The material also uses this really interesting phrase, partnership precision. It talks about how they work incredibly closely, collaboratively with architects, engineers, clients, solving problems really early on.
And this is absolutely key to understanding their extraordinary client loyalty. Construction projects are complex. Issues will come up. It's inevitable. Always.
Yeah.
But by working as this highly integrated team right from the start, they can spot potential problems and solve them together collaboratively before they blow up. That level of proactive problem solving, it just builds immense trust. And that encourages repeat business. It's partnership, but with a real focus on flawless execution.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture for someone trying to build their own business, McCarthy's story seems to show that longevity and growth aren't just about sticking around. It's about continuous, deliberate evolution.
Yep.
It's finding that right balance between honoring the foundational building principles, the stuff that's worked for centuries, and aggressively adopting new tech, new sustainable methods, and crucially, these integrated, collaborative ways of working with clients and partners.
It's leveraging your history, not just as a point of pride, but as a platform for really responsible innovation.
Okay, next up, MasTec. Founded in 1929, but in its current form since '94. This is an infrastructure giant. And the story in the sources, starting with Jorge Mas Canosa's vision, it's pretty incredible. Taking a struggling company and building it into, a $12+ billion business? 22,000 employees.
That scale of transformation is just remarkable. MasTec didn't just grow randomly. They very strategically positioned themselves to build the foundational energy infrastructure that's powering the whole nation's transition. They are, just like the sources imply, actively participating in and really shaping the national infrastructure boom.
That strategic market focus is so clear. Natural gas pipelines, massive wind and solar farms, high voltage transmission lines, they're building the grid of tomorrow, essentially.
They saw a massive long-term market need driven by national policy and just, reality, and positioned themselves to be the absolute leader in delivering it. When states or big utility companies need to build large-scale energy infrastructure, MasTec is consistently right at the top of that list.
And the sources highlight something else really significant. Diversity as a strategic strength. As a certified minority-controlled company, the material presents this not just as, an ethical stance, but as a clear competitive advantage.
Yeah, this point is fascinating. Their deep cultural understanding, their multilingual capabilities.
Yeah.
It allows them to navigate these complex community dynamics and regulatory environments that maybe other competitors might struggle with, especially on projects crossing diverse regions or even international borders.
So it opens doors.
It opens doors to unique partnerships and markets. This isn't just about being representative. The sources suggest it's about operational effectiveness and strategic access that's rooted in their identity and culture.
The sources also talk about them combining technology and tradition, using these advanced project management systems for those colossal projects, but alongside these cultural values of family, hard work, community service.
It's a really powerful combination. The technology lets them manage the sheer scale and complexity of these multi-billion-dollar infrastructure projects. But it's their culture, built on those strong values, that attracts and retains the skilled workforce they need to actually execute them. The human element is just as critical as the technical one.
And seeing the pictures of their recent big renewable energy projects, they are literally building the physical foundation for America's sustainable future.
Yeah, it's impressive stuff.
So for you, the listener, MasTec's story really underscores the immense power of identifying and just relentlessly focusing on high-growth strategic markets like infrastructure is today. It shows how diversity, when it's genuinely integrated, can be a profound competitive advantage.
Opening markets, enhancing effectiveness.
Exactly. And it demonstrates the strength you get from combining that leading-edge technology with a deeply rooted, value-driven company culture.
Find your strategic niche, leverage your unique strengths, whatever they are, and let technology amplify your values.
Finally, let's look at Moss Construction, founded much more recently, 2004. But they've had this absolutely explosive rise, a $3+ billion national powerhouse in just 2 decades. They were even ENR's 2024 Southeast Contractor of the Year.
Yeah, their growth trajectory, according to the material we have, was anything but accidental. It was very much by design. They didn't just grow organically. They systematically targeted and expanded into specific high-growth markets where they saw potential. Things like renewable energy, luxury residential, healthcare, education.
And they didn't just enter renewable energy, they became America's #1 solar contractor. The sources frame this as both incredibly smart business strategy and really prescient leadership.
It definitely requires foresight, right? To see where the market is actually going, and then have the decisiveness to position yourself to lead in a key part of that transition. Becoming the top solar contractor in such a fast-growing market, that's a clear sign of their strategic vision and their ability to execute.
How did they manage to scale their core values, though? The material describes them almost like family values while growing so fast nationally. They specifically mention honor relationships as a core value, treating client relationships as, permanent, not just transactional. How do you maintain that during explosive growth?
That's crucial, isn't it? Rapid growth puts immense pressure on culture and quality. By anchoring their operations in core values like honor relationships, they seem to ensure that even as they scale, every interaction with clients, partners, employees reinforces that commitment.
So clients come back.
Clients return because they feel valued. They trust that Moss will consistently deliver on that principle project after project.
Yeah.
It builds loyalty.
And that complex Formula One Miami Grand Prix racetrack project. The sources highlight that as just unbelievable proof of their innovation under pressure.
Oh man, that project sounds like a constructor's absolute nightmare on paper. Building a, 3.36-mile temporary racetrack, not just under an active highway, but also around a functioning NFL stadium, while keeping normal operations going for concerts, games, whatever else, and doing it on an incredibly tight deadline for a huge, high-profile inaugural event.
Sounds impossible.
The fact that they pulled it off on time and on budget, it just demonstrates an extraordinary level of planning, coordination, problem solving. Serious technical mastery.
And tying back to the solar work, the sheer impact is notable, nearly 3.8 gigawatts energized. The sources link this market leadership directly to contributing to environmental goals and creating a lot of jobs. So what are the big lessons from Moss's rapid designed growth?
Well, I think it's a masterclass in achieving rapid but intentional growth. By identifying and aggressively going after high-potential markets. It really emphasizes how critical it is to embed and actively maintain your core values and prioritize relationships as you scale up, potentially exponentially.
Right.
And it shows how successfully executing those incredibly challenging high-profile projects builds your reputation, demonstrates your capabilities, and really fuels future opportunities.
Okay, so pulling all of this together, looking at Webcor mastering urban complexity, McCarthy blending deep experience with cutting-edge tech, MasTec building the future of infrastructure with strategic focus and diversity, and Moss achieving that rapid design growth grounded in values.
Oh.
We look across all these examples, what's the shared DNA? What emerges from the material?
If we try to connect the dots, several really powerful threads seem to weave through all their stories. First, none of them shied away from the absolute hardest challenges. They either specialized in them, like Webcor in SF's maze, or they used them as the actual catalysts for innovation and developing unique capabilities. Think about Moss with that F1 track, that impossible build.
They didn't avoid difficulty, they embraced it, like it was their training ground.
Exactly. Second, they all clearly understood the absolute necessity of constant evolution. They weren't afraid to integrate new approaches, McCarthy's tech advancements, MasTec's advanced systems, Moss's strategic pivots into new markets. Standing still just means falling behind.
Always adapting, always learning seems key.
Third, they placed an incredibly high value on relationships. With clients, communities, partners, their own people. You see it in Webcor's deep community integration, McCarthy's partnership precision, MasTec's culture rooted in family values, Moss's core value to honor relationships.
Right.
Construction is, at its heart, a human business, right? And they built success on trust and connection.
Building structures and building relationships really do go hand in hand.
And fourth, they all had a clear strategic vision. They weren't just bidding on random jobs that came along. They identified key markets or leveraged their unique strengths to really position themselves for leadership. Webcor's specific urban focus, MasTec seeing the future in energy infrastructure, Moss deliberately expanding into high-growth sectors like solar.
Okay, let's bring this right back to you, the listener. Whether you're planning your first steps or maybe figuring out how to scale up, consider your business or the one you want to build. What unique challenges does your market or niche present right now?
Yeah, are you seeing them just as frustrating obstacles? Or could they potentially be the catalyst for you to develop the unique skills and expertise that make you indispensable, like Webcor did in San Francisco?
How are you looking at technology and new methods? Are you finding that right balance, maybe like McCarthy, to integrate them effectively while still honoring the foundational principles of quality construction?
And how are you intentionally building those crucial relationships, fostering a truly strong, value-driven culture that attracts talent and client loyalty, following the examples we saw from MasTec and Moss?
And maybe the most important question, right? What strategic direction, what market focus or unique strength offers the greatest potential for your growth? Where can you position yourself to lead, drawing inspiration perhaps from MasTec and infrastructure or Moss and solar?
These stories we've dug into from the source material, they really demonstrate that going from good to great in construction, especially when you're navigating tough environments or aiming for rapid scale, it isn't about finding an easy path.
It doesn't seem like it.
No, it's about strategic adaptation. It's about letting innovation be forged in that crucible of necessity. And it's about relentlessly building strong, lasting relationships and a powerful culture.
So thinking about your own journey forward, based on these examples, companies that didn't just face down, but actually mastered challenges like building in earthquake zones or constructing high-speed tracks under active highways, what seemingly impossible obstacle in your current situation could you potentially transform into your most powerful, unique competitive advantage?